Becoming a Whirlwind Plus member at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass could be your ticket to winning, and you don't even have to do anything to earn the prize. Meaning it's not a golf tournament or a putting contest. You just have to be a member. Titleist golf bags, Cardinals tickets, a 2-night stay at Wild Horse Pass Resort and Casino, plus credit to the Prime Steakhouse, and even 10 passes to the LPGA Ford Championship. How do you win? Go to whirlwindgolf.com, click on Whirlwind Plus, and feel the win.
Thanks for listening, Unplugged Army. I'm Louis Unga, General Manager at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. We're proud to present Doug Franz Unplugged.
Forming offense. Forming offense.
4 minutes.
Forming offense. Forming offense.
Everything you need to know in sports that affects Maricopa County, the state of Arizona, and the world, you get in 4 minutes. We start things off in Portland, Oregon. Suns win 127-110 over Portland, one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the league, and yet the Suns had 3 more offensive rebounds than Portland. Devin Booker, 19 points in 29 minutes. Connor Gillespie had 19 points as well. Big stat, bench scoring. Suns beat them 63-44, and most of Portland's points came late in the game when it was a blowout. Jordan Goodwin chipped in with 10 points off the bench.
Getting a win on the road is big, especially against a team like this that's really downhill, drives, going to pick us up full court, play a little faster than what we usually comfortable with. This is a huge win for us. I think our role's still going. I think our confidence, our rhythm, our vibe is still here.
Up next, Suns get the next couple days off. Home against Minnesota Friday night, 7 o'clock. According to Adam Schefter, Arizona Cardinals running back Amari DiMercado is going to be listed as out with a high ankle sprain. Official injury report from the Cardinals comes out today. Drew Petzing, offensive coordinator. He talked yesterday about the illegal shift penalties and the false starts against the 49ers.
Those can't happen. That's a lack of detail, lack of focus to me, so ultimately that's going to come back on me. So something I got to harp on in the meeting that I'm going to continue to harp on. We got to get out of the huddle. We got to get set. The post-snap penalties, you never want them, but inevitably they happen. The pre-snap penalties cannot.
Up next, Jaguars come to Glendale Sunday at 2. ASU left for Oahu yesterday. They take on the University of Hawaii tomorrow, and then they lead off the Maui Invitational on Monday against Texas. Football-wise, the Devils are getting ready for Colorado. Defensive coordinator Brian Ward, what do you see from the Buffs?
You know, the thing that we're reminding our guys is these guys played a 3-point game against BYU a month ago. You know, there's another couple games in there. They've lost 4 games by a score or less. These guys could have a 7-3 record right now. A couple plays go their way, so they're a very talented team.
Kickoff in Boulder Saturday night, 6 o'clock. Not a lot of coaches talk about winning 3 games in a row, but Arizona Wildcat defensive coordinator Danny Gonzalez is not like a lot of coaches.
When you start this thing back in December, you're guaranteed 12. You earn the opportunity for 13, 14, 15 if you can get on a roll like that. Well, we've earned the opportunity to try to win 10 games, which would be the 5th time in the history of this program. 122 teams have fielded for the University of Arizona, and we've got an opportunity. That doesn't mean you look past what your next one is.
Up next, Wildcats against Baylor at the stadium formerly known as Arizona Stadium, Saturday morning at 11. And tonight, one of the big boy matchups of the entire regular season for college hoop. Number 3, UConn, who's received 2 first-place votes, at home against Arizona, who's also received 2 first-place votes and sits ranked 4th. Tip-off in Stores, Connecticut, 5 o'clock. Another sign that Zach Gallen will no longer be a Diamondback. He rejected his qualifying offer. He can still re-sign with the team, but it's a protection that now Arizona is guaranteed a draft pick if Zach Gallen signs elsewhere. The Rule 5 draft was yesterday, and the Diamondbacks didn't lose anybody from the draft, but they used 4 spots on the 40-man roster to protect from losing anyone, and therefore designated Tommy Henry for assignment, which is a fancy baseball way of saying they cut him. Up next, Diamondbacks take on the Rockies on February 20th for spring training. USMNT looked incredible in a friendly, beating Uruguay 5-1. Antonio Freeman's son Alex had 2 goals. Up next, Friday, June 12th, the USMNT plays somebody in the World Cup. We just don't know who yet. And finally, meet Paige Batten, a Chattanooga real estate agent who bought a house with plans to flip it. However, when a potential customer came to look at it, the house was missing the driveway. Somebody stole the driveway. Now, out of all of the things you can have stolen, Someone stole the driveway. Batten has no idea what happened. She spoke with neighbors who said last week there were trucks in front of the house from 9 to 11 in the morning, and they pulled up big slabs of concrete. None of the neighbors stopped them because they thought the real estate agent was paying to have the driveway redone. Batten is taking the high road thinking that some workers came and took the driveway by getting the wrong address and didn't plan on stealing it. It's a nice looking house and it's just got this strip of dirt leading right to the garage door. Paige asks if you recognize any of the trucks that were seen in surveillance video. Could you please contact her?
Hey, Unplugged Army, this is General Mike. The thing I love about Bell's most is the staff. Every time I come here, they make sure I'm having a good time, and I always bring my daughter here, and she has dietary restrictions. They always find something with their fresh ingredients to make for her to hit the gluten-free, dairy-free menu items. So always enjoy it when I come here. Can't wait to come back.
Bell's Nashville Kitchen on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale.
You found home, down home.
Okay, I'm really happy that my Bobcats won last night, but it was against UMass, so it's really not that big of a win. And I'm sorry to talk about versus Vegas already, but explain to me, Bobcats, why did you have to score that last touchdown? I said under 51.5 points because of the rain. I didn't think there'd be a lightning delay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever it is that you've decided to make Doug Franz Unplugged a part of your day, my family greatly appreciates it. My name is Doug Franz, and you have found the only podcast in the world totally devoted to the coverage of the 4 major sports franchises of one great American city that drops on your phone each and every weekday morning. We also cover ASU, U of A, GCU, the Rattlers, the Rising, and the Merc. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. How are you? I'm good. Do me a favor. Please keep little news and notes coming from any time that you are supporting an advertiser. I'm getting a lot of great feedback about 100 Mile Brewing Company. That is awesome. Awesome. But I just want to be blunt. I have not heard anybody talking about being a Whirlwind Plus member lately. So any stories you have about playing at Whirlwind, I want to be able to repeat those to other members of the Unplugged Army. If you have recently gotten an oil change or had an event at Santan Ford, something like that. If you are going to the sponsors, please continue to tweet out pictures, post it with hashtag Unplugged Army, so we can continue to show everybody a great deal of thanks. Another one I haven't heard any feedback from recently is Parker and Sons. And on the one hand, that's a good thing, I admit, because that's not cheap, right? I mean, when you got a problem with your heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical, that ain't cheap. But gosh, they're so worth it. They're so good. On time, respectful, get it right the first time, as opposed to somebody else that might be a little less expensive, and then you turn around and have to pay again because it didn't get fixed. Things like that. So please keep those comments coming so I can also turn them into commercials as well. I hope everything's going great in your life. I don't really bring anything to the table story-wise. All I did yesterday, I shouldn't say all, but I got up at about 12:30, maybe more like 1:30, and then walked right downstairs to the studio, formerly Jennifer's office, and did something awesome. Interviewed Bobby Mack today. Well, I interviewed him yesterday, but for today's show. Really excited to play that for you with all of the talk of the pressure that's on Jonathan Gannon. And Bobby Mack, again, did not say fire Jonathan Gannon, but he was somebody that was strong to say it's time to start looking at this. And, the owner is well within the range of saying that's enough. We've had enough. You've had 3 years. You are continually losing to NFC West teams. It's time to make a move. For me, it's not time to make a move because it's the man making the move. You fire Jonathan Gannon and you hire another coach, and that's not going to happen. I mean, that's not going to get any better because he hires the wrong coaches. Now, what's going to be interesting, and I won't tell you who it is, but Bobby Mack will. Bobby Mack throws out a name that he thinks is going to be a strong candidate if there is a move made. And I got to tell you, Bobby Mack usually checks things out before he gives opinions. So I'm really interested in his little piece of insight that he gave us. So I think you're really going to enjoy listening to Bobby Mack today from the Arizona Republic. And then wait till you hear what I tell him at the end. I just blatantly throw my resume on the table at the end. So hopefully that's not considered unprofessional or offensive, but I thought it was a pretty entertaining conversation. I think you will too. That's going to come up after we talk Suns. And it's time now for Doug's big one, which is my number one opinion of the day. Let's roll. Doug.
Where's Doug? Here, sorry, Doug. Where you at?
Yeah, was that a plug to unplug right there? That was smooth.
Well, I can only answer the questions that get asked of me, Doug.
Obviously, Franz is such a good player.
Doug's big one. Steve Kerr said something yesterday that I just so totally disagree with, and it's driving me crazy. Steve Kerr made mention of some of the major athletes that are injured in the NBA, major players. He didn't go so far as to mention somebody like a Tyrese Halliburton or a Jason Tatum, but he might as well have. And his argument was the condensed schedule, meaning the limited rest between games, is really hurting players. And because of that, you combine that with, I shouldn't say because of that, you combine that with the Steph Curry effect of so many people shooting deep threes and everybody's a three-point shooter, there's more ground that you have to cover. The closeouts are further away. In the 80s, 90s, and beginning of the century, when you have one or two guys that shoot three-pointers, and it's only after a lot of ball movement, well, the closeouts weren't that difficult. Now, just about everybody on the floor shoots a three-pointer. Therefore, the other five guys are scrambling to close out, and that leads to any kind of soft tissue injuries, Achilles, ACLs, groins, muscles, things like that. And players are getting more and more injured because of the condensed schedule. Now, my opinion after that setup, it's ridiculous. The reason why guys are getting hurt more often is because they're out of shape. Nobody wants to talk about that. We want to assume these are the finest conditioned athletes in the world. And we don't want to admit, you know what? Some of them aren't. In Eddie Johnson's day, they would have 3-a-days. Steve Kerr talked about how there's no time for practice. Well, what does that have to do with injuries, that there's no time for practice? It was the players that were complaining about the back-to-backs. They lowered the number of back-to-backs. They extended the season, not in games, but the time frame that the season takes up in order to accommodate the players. And they got rid of some of the back-to-backs. But in doing that, you end up with a game every other night for the most part, which means no practice time. But let me explain something else to you, too. One of the reasons why there used to be a ton of back-to-backs, and in Eddie Johnson's day, he had 3 games in a row. Yes, back-to-back-to-backs. Do you realize those guys flew commercial? From the time they got off the trains and was flying until the 90s, they were flying commercial. Now, they would have special security, right? I mean, they would go into a terminal and have their own area to be protected from the mob of fans, but they're still, and they would be flying first class, but they're still on commercial flights. So you've got your body cramped up on a commercial flight. Now they got these luxurious charter planes that some of the teams own themselves. And the players are still finding something to complain about. Call it like it is. The players, a lot of times, don't put in the same work that the older players used to because they don't feel like they have to. It's one thing I wish somebody would do a study on in all sports. That is, why do we have all of these advanced training techniques and yet people are getting hurt more often? I mean, they baby starting pitchers like crazy, and all the starting pitchers end up with ACL injuries. Or UCL injuries. It's just silly. I was talking to one doctor last week. You know what? I need to try to get him on. One doctor last week who said we're seeing more ACLs than at any other time that I've ever seen it. And he says the reason why is because so many kids are being forced or talked into playing one sport. Or, hey, you made this high-profile team, but in order to stay on this team, you got to be devoted to only this team instead of playing multiple sports. So different tendons, different muscles get a season to relax. While a new group of muscles, of course, all of your muscles are active, but you use different muscles in baseball than you do in basketball, than you do in football, than you do in soccer. And then your body's fully formed and everything's a little stronger. And in my opinion, your sports IQ is higher. And you learn from more situations. If you have a situation in basketball and you're a quarterback, you might learn from something that happens on the basketball court that makes you a better leader the next time you get in the huddle. All the sports feed on each other. Then you're stronger, in my opinion, because you have less wear and tear on the specific muscles, tendons, and ligaments of one sport. Instead of playing AAU basketball and having 15 games in a week and a half at some tournament and just bouncing around from team to team, declaring yourself a free agent all the time, no commitment, thinking that's the best way to learn the game. And then we're shocked at how hard it is to keep our dominance in the game of basketball. Steve Kerr, I think you're wrong on this one. I think you need to call out something that nobody wants to say something that nobody wants to say. That is, we need to stop babying athletes, and they need to train harder in order to keep themselves in the top physical condition so they're not pulling muscles and tearing tendons and ligaments. And no, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not really playing one either. And that's Doug's big one. You know, I've told this story before, so I just want to give you a brief version of it. But ASU made the Big 12 championship game last year, and there's a place called Texas Live. And Tim Hovick of Santan Ford was going to have an ASU big tailgate party there. And due to some strange situations, a bunch of ASU fans went to a different tailgate party. And so his tailgate party looked a little small. And Texas Live was overrun by Iowa State fans. And Tim Hovick wanted to show so much solidarity that people that worked for Santan Ford started inviting anybody who was wearing ASU gear to come up and be a part of the ASU, his one-time private ASU tailgate party. So his private ASU tailgate party became public only to ASU fans. And he paid for everything. It didn't matter. You ordered dinner, you got a drink. It didn't matter. He paid for it for every ASU fan. I'm still amazed by that. He's never told me how much the bill is, but it had to be the most intimidating thing in the world. Why do I bring that up? Because it's just another example of him supporting Arizona, and I mean the state, locals, people that are here. He puts his money right back into here. I'm just a fan of his. Tim Hovick, Santan Ford, when you're in the market for a new, pre-owned car, truck, SUV, take advantage of the Unplugged Army discount. Email me, Doug@DougFranzUnplugged.com. Go to Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. Not a fan of the 9 o'clock tip-offs for the Suns. That was almost going to be Doug's big one. Not a fan. New contract with NBC and Peacock starts this year. And for them, it's a gold idea because you can put basketball on at 8 o'clock Pacific and just dominate the West Coast ratings for teams like Phoenix, Portland, or cities like Phoenix, Portland, LA, San Francisco, and Oakland. All of those cities that have an NBA team, and obviously with LA having two of them, you're just gonna crush it. And honestly, Denver's gonna be included in that as well. So teams that are playing, the two teams in the Mountain Time Zone, or three teams actually, the three teams in the Mountain Time Zone with Utah, and then I guess there's 4 teams in the Pacific Time Zone. That's 7 teams that you can have playing an 8 o'clock in the evening primetime game on a weeknight and just dominate the ratings for the night. I'm assuming East Coast stations have the right to override that content. The reason why I say that is if their 11 o'clock news on the East Coast is probably preempting basketball, because if you're an East Coast dude, you're not enough of them are going to compare about Suns Trailblazers versus the ratings that the 11 o'clock news already makes all up and down the East Coast. So you're not going to match those ratings. So I guarantee you those stations have the right to preempt. But if you've got a low budget news staff, or your news is number 3, number 4 in the market, well, then you might say, you know what, let's be a little different. We don't have to pay anybody tonight, and we'll just go with basketball. But I hate it, but I know it's a great idea for them, and I bet 12 News did pretty good in the ratings yesterday. However, 3 TV still had the game. So if you wanted your local broadcast, you can have it. And if you wanted to have a national perspective and see what the national broadcasters thought, then you could have that. I watched 12 News for the first quarter, and I shouldn't say this, it's rude, but I didn't love Terry Gannon. I think he's outstanding on his golf coverage, and I think he does a great job in the Olympics. But I didn't connect with his style of play-by-play. And I think Eddie Johnson's one of the best analysts in basketball. So I went back to K-Ray and Eddie Johnson and watched 3 TV the rest of the game. Suns do it again. They win by 17, 127-110. I told you the stat in the 4-minute offense. I was jacked up about it. Portland came into the game the second best offensive rebounding team in the league. Suns had 18 offensive rebounds. Portland had 15. That's awesome. And then the bench points. Suns won the bench points 63-44, and it wasn't that close, which we all know is kind of a dumb thing to say about a stat or a score. And it wasn't that close. Well, actually, it was. That's the stat. But what I mean by it wasn't that close is the Portland Reserve started scoring well in the fourth quarter once it's a blowout and you don't care about bench points anymore. And it's still a 19-point advantage in favor of the Suns. Book had 19.6 boards, 5 assists, and most importantly, only 1 turnover. Here's the most important stat. 0. Want to take a wild guess what that is? Devin Booker, 0. What's that stat? Devin Booker played 0 minutes in the fourth quarter. Just inside of 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, Booker came out. He didn't play again. Didn't play the last 13 and a half, 14 minutes of the game. I've been building this up for a while, what's about to start. And that is Suns in action on Friday night against Minnesota, which begins the 6 games in 9 nights. It is 3 games in 4 nights, 2 nights off, and then another 3 games in 4 nights. Brutal stretch of the schedule. And you get to have Devin Booker play only 2.5 quarters, really. Played most of the first quarter. Played about half of the second quarter. Played 11 of the 12 minutes of the third quarter and didn't get back up other than to cheer his teammates. That's a great stat. I mean, you get him a ton of rest in this Portland game. So those are my 3 favorite stats. 3, 19, and 0. 3 more offensive rebounds than the second best offensive rebounding team. 19 more bench points. And 0 minutes for Devin Booker in the fourth quarter. Here's Jordan Ott talking about what was so huge in their dominant third quarter.
Yeah, great overall response. Really in that third quarter, it really changed the game. Started with our defensive pressure. Right off the bat in the third quarter right away. Just came out with an intent and focus to really put the gas on. Great start to that third. Great overall third.
So what was interesting about that, if you didn't get a chance to see the game, Suns win the first quarter 35-32, and it was almost very similar to then what happened in the second quarter, in which the middle part of the quarter, the Suns pull away, and then they don't close the quarter well. It happened really bad to end the second quarter. The Suns it just feels like they're about to pull away and make it ugly. They've got a 7-point lead with about 5 minutes left in the second quarter. Then they kind of lose it. Then they build it back up to an 8-point lead with 3 minutes left. They get a 10-point lead inside of 3 minutes left. And you're thinking, okay, here we go. And it teeters on that for a while. Then it's 64-53 when Book makes a free throw with 1:53 left. So you got that? 1:53 left, 64-53. And the half end 64-61. They get an 8-0 run to end the second quarter, and you're thinking, what just happened here? I mean, you got an 8-point lead, finish that off, and then do well in the third, and you're great. And what was awesome about the third quarter, they won the third quarter 36-21. They did the same stuff they were doing in the first 2 quarters, but they didn't slack off this time. They kept the intensity through the end of the third quarter. And Portland could not keep up. Couldn't keep up at all, and that had a lot to do with it. Ryan Dunn, low-scoring game, but he had 5 steals, and his closeouts were fantastic.
I think he had one there on that stretch, too, and a great pass to Dylan. Ryan's like that every night. You know, he just got his hands on more of the basketballs tonight, but his point of attack defense, his athleticism, his never quit attitude on the ball, super helpful in games like this, especially with downhill drivers like they have. So, he had a great night. Got rewarded with it when the balls actually get to him. You know, sometimes those steals, I don't know who really gets the steals, but he's always active, always up there.
Also, Rasheer Fleming got some meaningful minutes in this game, not just fourth quarter minutes. I noticed something. He's number 20 if you're ever watching the game. I noticed something with him that the team is going to have to adjust to is he's not great at staying in front of his man, but he's great at staying with his man. I mean, I admit I'm old school. I'd like to see you move your feet a little faster and keep the ball in front of you. Keep your man in front of you. What he has a tendency to do, though, is the guy gets past him, but not really, if that makes sense. The guy is able to get on the side of him, but not totally outflank him, and Fleming stays right on the dribbler's hip. Who's ever the ball handler, he's staying right on his hip away from the ball, but he's in position to block the shot. And I recognized a lot of the Suns whenever whoever was dribbling, whoever it was would get past Fleming just by that half step, and then the rest of the defense would try to rotate. And it was causing other shooters to score, especially in that second quarter, because so many people thought, oh, I've got to help Fleming. And the truth is, Rasheer was right on his guy. Like, if his guy would have shot the ball, I think Rasheer would have blocked it. He's got such long arms that I think the team needs to learn, listen, if he doesn't need help when you think he needs help, he's right there. Now, maybe I'll be proven wrong on that theory, because maybe we'll notice more and more people driving on Fleming, and then they do score. And then we'll know, okay, I was wrong. He does need help. But mostly what was happening is anybody that drove on Rasheer Fleming got near the hoop, but then would dish because someone came over to help. And then that set up a bad rotation all the way around, and usually an open look at the basket. Just trying to think if there's anything else. I guess I'm just thrilled that they won again and they didn't have 40% of their starting lineup. Grayson Allen wasn't in. He's battling an injury, and of course still the hamstring issue with Jalen Green, and the team finds a way to win anyway, despite that. Just so jacked up. And then remember, I told you about the 6 games in 9 nights. The last 2 games of the 6 games in 9 nights, Oklahoma City and Denver. 2 best teams in the Western Conference, and they're the ones that's going to finish. So if you don't get the wins early in the 6 of 9, you certainly ain't getting them late. Gosh, I love the fact that Booker didn't play in the fourth quarter. Love watching that team. One of the things they did in the beginning of the second quarter, and this is fascinating to watch. Keep an eye on this and see if you notice it too in the upcoming games. When the bench came in, they were trapping everywhere. They were doing their own version of Nolan Richardson's 40 Minutes of Hell. It looked exactly like I want to see Bobby Hurley play. I'm going to try to go to ASU's game tomorrow night. And I have scheduled a potential exclusive conversation with Bobby after the game. And I'm going to ask him point blank, why don't you start doing this? Can I talk you into this? Because he said at the end of the Georgia State game, he doesn't think it's sustainable to play that way for long stretches. And I completely disagree. Yes, it is. And what I saw last night from the Suns, which was so cool to see, is the bench came in, and think about this logically. And I've never seen a team do this, but it seemed like it was, you know what? Let's just have our bench go all in on a big press. You guys trap everywhere, even in the half court. You guys trap 5-on-5. Just play relentless, run around like crazy, because who cares if you get tired? A starter, you normally don't want to go crazy because of the drop-off when you put in the bench. Well, if your bench gets exhausted, there's no drop-off. You put the starter back in. And they were everywhere. And then there's a flip side component to that. When your bench is trapping everywhere, who are you trapping? Normally the other team's bench. I mean, they're all NBA players, but you're trapping the inferior point guard. You're trapping the player that's not used to being trapped very often, because when do you get trapped? It's the starting lineup that gets trapped in the fourth quarter when they're up by 7 and there's, 2 minutes left. Now they got to deal with a trap. They're used to it. The bench guys aren't in when it's normally trap time in the NBA. So your bench is trapping the other team's bench, and it became a turnover machine or forced up threes. It worked perfectly. I have no idea if Jordan Knott thought that through and said, you know what? We're going to mix in a bench trap. But the starters weren't doing much trapping. And the bench was just high energy running around everywhere. It was a lot of fun to watch. So those are my big takeaways from the Suns game. Man, I thought that was, I love that team. That's all I can say. I love watching that team play. All right, coming up next, who's not jacked up? Come on. Hardcore friend of the show, Bob McManaman. Bobby Mack, lead columnist, Arizona Republic, on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. Going to be hard to keep up with this list, but from Parker & Sons Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical, we have a reverse osmosis system, a tankless water heater, and 2 air scrubbers that actually remove pollens and germs from the air that we breathe in our home. So what does Parker & Sons do? They only handle the air that we breathe and the water that we drink, and they do a great job. Call 602-2-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons.
Hello, it's Cameron Scadaboo, running back. I'm super excited to announce that I have a new burrito. It's called the Burrito at Burrito Express. It's filled with enjoyment, chicken rice, guacamole, sour cream, and beans. It's something that fuels me every day. I get the opportunity with them to be able to fuel myself at a price that's affordable. It's awesome to be able to have that and have your guys' support as an athlete, and being able to support me is very, very blessing.
I'm so glad he said yes. Bobby Mack is here, the premier writer in the state of Arizona, the columnist of the Arizona Republic, and a man that has seen it all, has done it all. And Bobby Mack, that column you wrote a little while ago about promoting Arizona for statehood, who were the people that you talked to when you did that? What was some of the pushback? I mean, what was it like living in Arizona in 1911?
I'm pretty sure you're older than me, so stop.
That is not true.
That's got to be true.
How are you? Tell me a story about life.
Well, it's fine. Just
okay.
Everything's good here, Doug. You know, hopefully, knock on wood.
You did not go so far in your most recent column as saying fire Jonathan Gannon, but you said it's time to start talking about it. It's time for Michael Bidwill to start looking at it, thinking about it, or at least you're okay with it if that's the direction he went. Am I paraphrasing how your feelings are?
Yeah, I mean, how could you blame him if he pulls the trigger on it? A lot of people are ready for it. That's for sure. I thought Gannon bought himself some time when they benched Kyler, and that was evident. That's exactly what they did. And then they put him on IR the next day.
Yeah.
After saying he was going to start Brissett even if Kyler was 100% healthy. So, it was a benching. That's important to remember because that means you're moving on from him, in my opinion. And a lot of other people agree. And it buys yourself and your GM time to convince Bidwell, look, we need to go in a different direction. We didn't sign this guy. We didn't draft him. You guys did. For us, we need more time and to develop another guy. And I thought, well, okay, yeah, okay, I can see it. That buys you another year, probably 2, maybe more, if it's the right guy and you can convince Bidwell. But who knows maybe he's just fed up and he doesn't want to do that. Maybe if he does want to move on from Kyler, and I don't think he wouldn't want to, Bidwell, let somebody else pick the guy. And I don't know if he's ready to do that. He's gone through a ton of GMs and coaches here, it seems like, lately. And I just know something's got to change. And that's probably has to be in the mix.
I would imagine it was agent related once they benched him. I fully believe that Kyler Murray can easily play before the end of 2025.
I think he can play right now, Doug.
Yeah, exactly. Once you bench me, then the agent gets involved and say, well, then just put me on IR. Let me get fully healthy for whoever my next team is. And I'm sure they want to trade him. The math says you cut him. It's about, this is off the top of my head, it's about a $54 million cap hit. You trade him, it's somewhere in the low 30s. Now, that also means somebody wants him. And that's a big question.
I don't know if that's a big question.
Isn't it? If you trade for him, here's the catch. You get his contract. Do you really want to pay him $45 million when if you don't trade for him, the only negative is you don't get him, but at least you can sign him as a free agent. You're competing with every other team. But if they cut him, you get to dictate the terms to Kyler versus the contract being given to you.
I can see that happening. And I mentioned that previously.
Yep.
And I think teams are desperate enough to do it. I think the Cardinals definitely want to get something for him, and they should.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be QB hungry teams. There's hungry teams right now that could use him. You don't think Minnesota couldn't use him right now?
People say that, and here's the thing. Is he suddenly going to be better? I mean,
I think he's better than J.J. McCarthy is, yes, right now.
And that's what I don't believe.
It's too late to trade him now, of course.
Right.
There's a lot of teams, and by a lot, I mean at least 6 off the top of my head I could see him going to, and that they would be interested in probably trading for him and assuming that contract because it's better than what they've got now.
Now, you're still right, because I remember there was this franchise, I forget who it was, about 7 years ago, who signed this guy named Sam Bradford, who didn't even pass his own physical. So as long as there's teams out there that are willing to sign a Sam Bradford, somebody's going to sign Kyler. But to me, it's like, why do you think he's going to be better there than he was here?
I don't know. Maybe there's a coach out there who thinks he's better than what's been here.
I bet that's true, but I'm wondering how true it is. But you know how it is. Every coach has egos. So now with the Cardinals going forward, you bring up something interesting, and I think this has got to be on the owner's mind. If you keep Monty Ossenfort and you cut or trade Kyler, 2026 is now a wash.
Right.
You've got to have that cap hit that's so big, you're going to struggle to be good, and you've got to draft and develop a quarterback. Let that quarterback live under Jacoby Brissett for a whole year. Right. Make the switch sometime around Thanksgiving. Your new guy starts December of 2026. So we're going until 2027. And then that's the first year that the guy's really the starting quarterback. So you're already projecting 27, 28 with Monty, or you just fire Monty now and the new guy starts everything, but you never even let Monty eat because you stuck him with Kyler the whole time if you fire him now. So which way is if he calls you and says, hey, Bobby, this is Michael Bidwell. I'm soliciting some advice here. Okay. What are you going to tell him?
That's going to happen. I want to hear your answer first before I throw myself into this fire flame of a question.
You're going to laugh because this does not sound like the firebrand talk show host. Okay. I think Monty Ossenfort has choked on his own saliva in the first round. Mm-hmm. It's driving me crazy. Gray Zabel is so good. You needed line help, and now he's a Seahawk doing well, and you have wonderful Walter Nolan. After the first round, he does a good job, and I think Jonathan Gannon's a good coach, and I think there's missteps. I think that there's issues, but the problem to me has been Kyler, and therefore I'm riding this train with these two guys, and I realize the fan base would be upset, but I would not touch Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon. I would move on from Kyler.
No matter how the rest of this season ends?
Since you're asking me now, I would do that. Now, I admit 17 penalties and back-to-back 40 burgers are real. I mean, that's real. So if this continues, you could talk me into changing my mind. But right now, I would say I wouldn't come out with one of those votes of confidence. I wouldn't come out and say he's good until, I'm not saying anything about the future if I'm the owner. But right now, I'm keeping them.
Yeah. Look, I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's too much of just a stream of you got to do something else. This isn't working. They're not going to win out. They're not going to win most of the rest of their games. They're going to be lucky to win one or two more games. I don't know if they're capable of winning a single more game.
Yeah,
they have the Rams twice. They're going to finish 0-6 in the division for the second time in 3 years under Jonathan Gannon. I'm not calling for his head.
You sound like you're predicting what you think is going to happen based on the fact that you've been here for a year or two in this town and you know Michael reasonably well.
I don't know if I do. He's hard for me to understand.
Yeah. Well, then, don't you feel like, though, Bobby, this is the first time in, I don't know about your tenure, but I really feel like it's the first time in my tenure that the screaming of the lambs, as Ron Wolfley would say, from the fan base is louder than ever against Michael. I mean, people have been complaining about the Bidwell family since an hour and a half after they moved here. I get it. But it seems a lot more vocal and pointed. Like, sure, fire Gannon. Sure, fire Monty. Sure, trade. I don't care. The problem is Michael. I mean, that sentiment seems to be a lot stronger. Don't you feel it than in the years past?
Yes. And there's a reason that this is kind of the same story in a different way of saying it. Two things can be true at the same time. The sentiment by the fans against Michael is real, but Michael has changed in me. Like I said, I can't figure him out because he gave Kingsbury and Keim an extension and then fired them. A big extension, not just an extra year or two, like an extra three. And then he canned them. Steve Keim officially decided to retire. I think it was a mutual situation. I think he was going to get fired if he didn't walk away. I don't know the entire story behind that sordid drama myself yet. I don't really even care if I figure it out. I just know he gave them each an extension and then fired. My words, not theirs. So anything is possible. And if you did that, you could do this and make a clean slate of it. I like Monty Ossenfort. I agree with, the first round picks maybe haven't. I don't know how many years you give your first round picks enough time to prove. Marvin Harrison could go down as a junior, could go down as a Hall of Famer, and we don't know that. Doesn't look like it, but I was for that pick at number 4. I'm not changing my mind. I still think it was the right pick.
I want to see him with a different quarterback, see what happens.
And you just might, and you very well just might.
And then who knows what's changed with Michael Wilson? I mean, everybody's excited about Michael Wilson.
Quarterback did for him.
Yeah, everybody's excited about Michael Wilson, but I admit I'm the one guy that's kind of looking at Michael Wilson, and I still say, where have you been? I mean, you were allowed to do all that before. It doesn't matter that you were wide receiver too. If you're getting that open, they will. Most quarterbacks will find you, but
he doesn't get anywhere near the amount of targets he got against the 49ers. I don't think he ever had more than anything close to 10 in his career with Arizona before that game. Nowhere close. I could be wrong. Maybe there was
no.
I just don't think.
You know how football is, though. You're right that he's never had that many targets, but at the same time, the route tree is the route tree. The concept is the concept. If your quarterback is going through his progressions and you're open, you should be getting the ball, which brings up the question of Kyler. Was Kyler going through his progressions? Because it's not like Marvin was open every single time, and Michael should have been, next along the progression tree at some point.
Well, there's an issue there. I don't think Kyler is a great at progressions. I think it's look, duck, and run.
Yes.
That's his progression, and it has been for better part of 7 years. There were times when he stuck in there and was willing to take a hit. A couple times I've seen, maybe.
He did it every time he was healthy. He was just rarely healthy. He was rarely fully healthy.
Right.
And that's why. This is one of those times. Don't you feel like this is a Cardinals fulcrum? Like I totally feel like whatever happens in the next 5 months dramatically changes the entire 5 year. Like you can't recover from another bad decision for 5 years. No. I think this moment is that big. You think I'm overplaying it?
No, I don't. But I think March, which is in 5 months, is the biggest month that I'm already looking ahead to, and then April with the draft.
Right.
I don't really care about November and December anymore.
Yeah.
And it's sad to say that as a football fan, as just a fan of football, it already flies by too quickly. I can't wait for the Cardinal season to end.
and see what they're about to do.
Let's start cooking. Yeah, what are you going to do?
Let me give you this criticism and see where you want to run with it. Michael Bidwill hires first-year head coaches. Fact. My opinion is it's for two reasons: to save money and to control them. Yeah. And I look over at the Broncos. You had the chance, Sean Payton or Jonathan Gannon, and we could argue whether Sean Payton would have ever worked here. Right. Maybe for the exact same reasons. Because of the owner, the answer is no. Yeah. But I asked the question, what happened here? Look at the Broncos in the same 3-year period. They ripped the Band-Aid off a terrible quarterback contract, developed a new quarterback, and now they're better than the Chiefs. They're the second best team in their conference. And where are the Cardinals? Still with that quarterback contract and still with a first-year head coach.
If you think that's going to happen, it was a lot of things. Okay. Sean Payton did spend 10 hours in that building after he was picked up at the airport in West End. You remember that? He was there for 10 hours. It wasn't like a meet and greet. We're doing it just to get his name out there. But remember, the Saints had compensation rights still to Sean Payton, and it could have cost the Cardinals a pretty penny to sign him. And he's the most expensive coach I believe, first, second, or third highest paid coach in the NFL.
You think the Broncos mind paying it?
No, I don't. But I think Bidwill would have.
Yep.
I think the control element that you mentioned is very, very real. And a first-year head coach isn't the way to go this time.
Mm-hmm.
There's some candidates out there. Let's not shove Jonathan Gannon out the door just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Give him a chance to see what can happen the rest of the year. And I don't think you're going to see Kyler Murray again. It's probably is the smartest move to just keep him sidelined to protect his trade value. People have seen enough to know if they like him or not.
Totally agree.
And if they don't like him, then you can cut him. I don't think that's the way to go, but you got to get something, and it's got to be, you got to hold on for something. I don't know for how long, and then you'll have to cut him. And then do you give Gannon another year with a new QB with Monty? Yeah, I can see that.
But then do you give him the next year? Because I totally believe if you've got a first-year quarterback, he's got to go through the wars and then be ready for year two. And some people might say, I'm going to give Jonathan Gannon a year, but then if he doesn't do well with the new quarterback, I'm going to fire him. And I think, well, now you've stunted the growth of your young quarterback. You can't do that either. You either need to fire Gannon now, bring in a new quarterback, or accept Gannon and Monty for the next 2 years.
Right. That could be the way they go. I don't think the fan base will be happy about it, but you could sell it to them. Not that Bidwill is one of those guys who's going to go out on talk shows and talk about this. But he has a way of getting his message out. I don't know if he's that patient. My whole column was, has he lost patience like everyone else has in this town?
Let me give you one great reason, in my opinion, of not firing Jonathan Gannon, even though it is not a compliment to Jonathan Gannon. Why would I trust the man that's going to hire the replacement to do it again? I'd rather have Jonathan Gannon, in my opinion, than whoever it is that Michael Bidwill's going to hire.
You don't care who that person is if they move on from Gannon? You wouldn't even care who the candidates are?
I hate to be a jerk, but the opinion is the opinion, even though the source might not be friendly. I don't trust the man to hire a good coach. To me, he's too often we get the same. He's the only guy that hires first-year retreads. I don't know how you say that, but every year it's a first-year coach who isn't the guy. You go from Wilkes to Kingsbury to Jonathan Gannon, and we're just firing a coach every 3 years. Eventually, it's not the coach. It's the owner.
Well, Bruce Arians was a first-time head coach.
That worked.
But he was coach of the year as an interim head coach the year before in Indianapolis.
You felt like he had a little experience, and we know he's old.
A ton of experience as an offensive guru and a quarterback whisperer. I don't know. I see some names that could be available, and I don't want to start this whole circus, but I'm going to. I like this guy. A lot of people don't. Mike McCarthy. I've always liked him. I know things got tired and stale in Green Bay and Dallas. He didn't. It wasn't a good thing for him. Talk about control.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Saleh, defensive
I'm
guy.
fine with that.
Steal him away from the 49ers, and you're weakening a division opponent.
I accept that. You tell me we have Robert Saleh because I never judge a man who's coaching for the Jets. And if you don't believe my opinion on that, look at Tampa Bay. You know, Todd Bowles is doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So I don't judge how you coach the Jets. So you tell me we have Robert Saleh. That's the first name I say. I would fire Jonathan Gannon for Robert Saleh.
Yeah. I mean, there's other guys. I like Joe Brady, the offense coordinator for Buffalo.
I love Joe Brady, but again, I'm getting a first-year head coach.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes you got to just break that chain of ineptitude then. And I'm not saying Gannon can't. He hasn't done it yet. His record's pathetic. His record in the NFC is worst. NFC West is worse than pathetic. And I don't know how long you can continue that thing. Now, it doesn't mean they can't get it right eventually.
Yeah.
It could mean you just had, the roster has something to do with it too, Doug.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
They didn't give Steve Wilkes anything to work with, didn't give him a chance.
Right. And I don't think anybody realizes just how bad. So they might now, but how bad Steve Keim was at the end of his tenure. He was a good general manager in the beginning, and he completely checked out mentally. And then I think Michael Bidwell did the entire city a disservice by dragging out and allowing him. They would rather go out and be buddies than be general manager owner. And then we lose out on actual getting the job done. So that roster to me was so gutted when Monty Ossenfort took over that you're right to talk about Gannon's record. It is what it is. That's on your time. But I almost throw away year one. I take year one and say that's still Steve Keim's year.
They killed the roster in year one in order to build it back up. They blew it up on purpose because they had to.
Yes.
To start bringing in their people to make them buy into this culture that I believe in with Gannon. But I wonder if his message is not resonating anymore. They're still showing up to play. I talked to a player last night on the telephone who told me openly and honestly that everybody in that locker room still has faith and belief in each other and in the direction and that they can get it fixed. It may not look pretty, but he swears there isn't any giving up and there hasn't been anybody turning south. I think the culture works.
Tell me if I can make this comparison. See if you follow me. I think there are certain people in the world that dramatically affect office culture. Just one guy. I think Torrey's a good manager. I think Ketel Marte's a good second baseman. They cannot coexist anymore.
I like where you're going with that.
Because I look at it and say, Torrey, I love you, but you screwed up with Ketel. His whole career, you didn't do a good enough job holding him accountable. And eventually he becomes a bad drain of culture in the clubhouse. Everybody likes Ketel. Nobody has a problem with the human being. Right. But the coddling, you get sick of it and it's draining. And eventually he's got to go no matter how good he is, or Torrey has to go to treat Ketel with a higher level of professionalism and demands. And I look at Gannon the same way. If you remove the drain, which to me is Kyler, now the culture automatically isn't funneling all this oil to one squeaky wheel anymore. And it becomes, okay, now Bobby Mack, let's breathe. So I want to see Gannon for a year without Kyler and see if the culture rises.
I like it. All right. I didn't look at it that way. It's a great example by using another team in our town. And it's a brilliant point. Kudos to you. I'm going to clap. It's the only time
you and I have been friends for almost 20 years. I don't think I've ever received a round of applause from you.
That's the last time you will, probably.
Well, I'm sure after you see back-to-back triple 20s coming from me, I'm very confident that you will salute my round of darts.
Oh, 20s, right. I forgot about that.
Pick your date in December. Let's go.
All right. Oh, you got to wait all the way till that? Okay, yeah, we'll do it.
I did a good. I thought I was very kind. I never mentioned last week's fantasy football contest the whole time what we talked.
That's right. Did I play you last week?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was close until it wasn't till the end.
Well, since I had 3 guys playing Monday night, it was close until half my team played.
Yeah, but even during the game, I had a 51% chance of being the victor.
Yes, yeah, and then they kicked off.
Okay. This was in the second half, fella.
I tell you though, it is amazing. It's the craziest fantasy football league I've ever been in. The Bobby Mack League, I'm in first place, but I think I'm only 7-4. Like it's a fight to 500. Anybody that's 500 is in the thick of it.
Yeah, we got parity in our league, fella.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. Give us a hint. What's the next Bobby Mack column on? Has the Maui Invitational column gone up?
It's not a column about the Maui Invitational, but it's included. Look at it. We used to do this a lot back in the day. We resurrected this beautiful, fun idea. Bobby's Thanksgiving week TV sports menu, and then an idea of what to eat, drink, or sample while you're enjoying this wonderful sports events that we have listed, time, dates, and then here's what you should snack on. And
so kind of like the non-Bobby Mack crowd are the wine pairing people, but the Bobby Mack crowd is the TV pairing people.
I don't know what you said, but just read the damn thing. It's coming out Sunday, this coming Sunday.
Okay.
We got you covered for a week.
That sounds fantastic.
We have some sprinkled Q&As in there from people in our business, in our AZ Central that interviewed some folks about Thanksgiving stuff. Mm-hmm. Short but sweet, fun, interesting. It's like a spice to the menu.
I'm officially being a jerk and doing this on the record, something I have never done on the record. But go talk to your boss man about me, because you guys have a lot of good people. You guys have a lot of good writers. It's a good time. I still miss Kent Summers, but it's a good time to be with the Arizona Republic. I mean, I love what Teo Mackey is asking. I mean, he's asking all the right questions in pressers. Jose Romero is perfect at everything he does. Nick Picoro is great. Rankin is great. The only beef I have is I want more Dana Scott in my life. I think he should be on every beat at the same time. He's so good. But other than that, man, I like what you guys have going on.
Well, thank you. Yeah. We should form a marriage of some sort, maybe.
I think it would be fantastic. I need the access and I need to be able to have a spot on your websites. And you guys get a morning podcast every single day highlighting your columns and your people. And I think we could both do something magical.
I like this idea.
Good.
This works for me.
Yes, good. We just got to get you named. You seem like the editor-in-chief type.
No. No.
Did you want to think about that?
No.
All right. Best to the family. I owe you a beer for this.
Okay. Oh, no, you don't. No, you don't. Best to you and yours. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Coming up in a little bit, I'll explain the Rule 4, the Rule 5 drafts, and draft pick compensation, and qualifying offers, and the fact that Zach Gallen will not be a Diamondback. At least I'm guessing he will not be a Diamondback. Thanks for listening to Duck Franz Unplugged. We're presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass, and specifically we are presented by the Wings at Civlik. Best wings in the city. Even if you don't golf, you can still support the number one sponsor of Doug Franz Unplugged by just going there, just going to lunch there, having a meeting there. Or please don't forget, we have so many great spots to have a Christmas party. So many great spots for your company to have a holiday get together, or even your family. You can meet with Whirlwind, and they will set up a wonderful outing for your staff, like a Christmas outing where you can have the wings and the nachos, and you can play golf games near the driving range, even for people that don't golf. Don't think you can only go to Top Golf if you have non-golfers. You can set up a hilarious, fun event where maybe the people in your staff that are great golfers actually go out on the course, but families have a good time on the putting green and some of the other things that they would set up for you. They'll get as extravagant or as simple as you want. You've got space at 100 Mile Brewing Company called the Roadrunner Room. You can go there and have your own private event. You can rent out all or part of Bell's Nashville Kitchen. Bell's will even bring in the country music talent and then let you design the menu. Do whatever you want for your holiday event. And we got all kinds of places. Burrito Express will cater and load you up. So maybe you buy the office lunch for Christmas and Burrito Express will cater everything for you. Man, there's a lot of cool things that you can do with being a member of the Unplugged Army. Just wanted to make sure that you knew about all that. Let's talk a little Cardinals. It was coordinator day yesterday. I got a lot of coordinator sound too from ASU and U of A, but I'm going to save that for Friday and kind of start more saving stuff to the end of the week and doing a larger tailgate show that goes through what was said during the week. I won't do it all the time, but I think it's really appropriate for Friday, so that's why I'm going to try something a little bit different. But the coordinators of the Cardinals said some things that I think you're going to want to know right now. The number one thing that grabbed me from Drew Petzing, I thought this was a fantastic question. Somebody asked the offensive coordinator about Jacoby Brissett's leadership skills. And supposedly Jacoby, once he took over as the starting quarterback, is having like blitz meetings, making sure that the guys know on Saturday nights, especially on the road, kind of what we're looking at for different blitzes, what he sees on the film. Totally on him, having nothing to do with the coaches. Just, guys, I want to get together. Let's get together and talk about what we're about to see. That kind of leadership that you know full well they were not getting before, they're getting now. Just to make sure we're all on the same page. And look at the numbers that Jacoby Brissett is putting up. I think it has a lot to do with his work ethic to get people on the same page. And he has dinners with guys, and he's doing a lot more things than what has been done really since Carson Palmer was here. And this is something that Petzing knows a little bit about because he was in Cleveland when Jacoby Brissett was the quarterback there. I think they've been together somewhere else. So he's seen this leadership in action.
Yeah, I think it's a couple. I think one, the even keelness that he goes throughout the week and throughout a game. You know, he does not ride the wave of emotion. I mean, we all get emotional during the course of a week, but I think, or the course of a game too. But I think he does a great job of resetting, focusing on the goal, and communicating. I think such a big part of leadership is communication and making sure that you're talking to guys, you know where they're at, you know where they need to go, and you know how to get them there. And I think he does a really nice job of that.
You know how to get them there. I thought that was really interesting. Teo Mackey, America's reporter, asked an interesting question. What he does that I really like, I'm talking about Mackey's a member of the media. He listens, and I'm not going to say he uses your words against you, but he demands you clarify things that you say that maybe other people would just toss away as a cliche. He goes, no. Why did you say that? So this question is about a compliment Petzing had for the run game. And he comes back with a fact that shows the run game wasn't very good. Why would you compliment it? I'm playing this for you because I think it compliments both Teo Mackey as a reporter, and I want you to know who were the good reporters. But I think it also does highlight Drew Petzing because I totally buy his answer. I might be getting hoodwinked on this one, but I buy his answer on why he supports a run game that had some low totals.
You said you feel like you guys ran the ball effectively, but you only had 2.6 yards per carry. Why do you feel like the run game was effective?
I think we ran the ball 13 times. To me, I'm going to look at run efficiency. And so first, second down, right around 4 yards. Second and third or short, it's conversion. I think if you look at those 13 runs, I think I want to say 7 or 8 of them were efficient by those standards. So like on 3rd and 2, if I call a run, it gets 3. We got a new set of downs. That accomplished its goal. And I thought for the most part in the run game on Sunday, it did that.
He says it's efficient. Reporter jumps in to say, well, wait, you're only averaging 2 point whatever. How is that good? He says, well, we were averaging 4 on first and second down. That gets us to 2nd and 6. Or maybe if it was already 2nd and 7, it gets us to 3rd and 3. And then if we're sitting there at 3rd and 2 and it only gets 3 yards, I don't care. We got the first down. I called it to get, hey, I believe this is going to get us what we need. I didn't call it to break a big run. I called it to get the first down. I think it's a fair thing for both sides, but I really like that one. This is Petzing kind of dropping the hammer a little bit. I like this. Again, America's reporter, Teo Mackey, asking about how in the world are you having illegal shifts?
Those can't happen. That's a lack of detail, lack of focus to me. So ultimately, that's going to come back on me. So something I got to harp on in the meeting that I'm going to continue to harp on. We got to get out of the huddle. We got to get set. The post-snap penalties, you never want them, but inevitably they happen. The pre-snap penalties cannot.
I like that. Post-snap penalties you don't want, but they're going to happen. Pre-snap penalties cannot. The illegal shifts, if you're wondering, it's really simple if it's explained. Only one man can be in motion. You probably knew that. But the catch is everybody has to be standing still when the motion starts. So it's not a case where you can have, okay, at the snap, only one guy was moving. You can't go, hey, that's not illegal. Only one guy was moving. Well, when did he start moving? What happened on one of the illegal shifts, I can't remember who was who, but one of the Cardinals wasn't set yet when the other Cardinal took off running. So that still counts as 2 men in motion until your man in motion stops. If whoever was in motion would have stopped and gotten set, now it's legal again. It's that's why you see people breaking formation. Like remember the touchdown with the Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle when you'll hear the quarterback yell, can. Well, that's the quarterback canceling the play. We're not doing the first play I called in the huddle. We're doing either the second one I called, or sometimes they don't technically call 2 plays in the huddle. They just have a play up. That, hey, if I'm checking out on this drive, I'm checking into this. So he checked into the second play. And once he's done that, you know what? I can play this for you. I wasn't going to go here, but I'll just play this since I walked down this road. I thought this was brilliant of Teo Mackey, America's reporter. He asked Nick Rallis, the defensive coordinator, what happened when they scored the George Kittle touchdown. And what happened was Brock Purdy looked at the defense and saw, I know what I can do, he canceled one play, checked into a different play, which had a different formation, and that formation forced a linebacker to decide, am I guarding Christian McCaffrey or George Kittle? And they can't do either. And that scored a touchdown. And I love how Nick Rallis explained what's done about that.
It goes, there's a lot of things, honestly. You could always play chess with them. It just goes into being able to present the same, no matter what. And you got to be able to not allow people to know where to go with the ball pre-snap. It just goes into disguise. So really good concept. Give them credit, and give Purdy credit for being able to, identify whatever it was that he did. And they still have to be able to go make a play. And they did that. It's National Football League. It's a really good quarterback throwing it to a really good tight end. So, but we just got to always emphasize that that's part of what we do is pre-snap disguises and multiplicity and adaptability to be able to take away what people do well.
Okay, here's what all that meant, and I think it's really, really interesting. Teo Mackey was asking, what can you do? What can you do to prevent the mismatch? Because he's talking about once you got George Kittle against an interior linebacker, it's a mismatch. You're losing. Why? What can you do to make sure that doesn't happen? And I love the response. And this is why it's very important to really answer questions in the media, because you're educating people, or maybe educating the media so the media can educate people. But what he's talking about is once they shift, we're already dead. We just got to play as hard as we can and hope they don't execute. We got to get to the passer. We got to rush the passer, and hopefully if we hit the passer before the passer can find the mismatch, we win. But the point was the mistake, the flaw, is telegraphing your play. See, so many fans will yell, "Oh, it's a bad play call. He's such a terrible defensive coordinator." Well, what if Nick Rallis called exactly the perfect defense to destroy Brock Purdy on the play? It was set up perfect. He nailed that call. And in a sense, that might be what had happened. Brock Purdy goes to the line of scrimmage, and really in his mind, what he's thinking is, we're a dead duck. What we're about to run is going to go right into the teeth of this defense. This defense is aligned in such a way that tells me this play isn't going to work. But what am I going to do about it? I'm going to check into a play that I know is going to expose one of those linebackers. And Nick Rallis's point is, we didn't screw up when they scored the touchdown. We screwed up earlier than that. We screwed up by showing our hand on what we were doing. We've got to do a better job disguising what we're in, so Brock Purdy goes to the line of scrimmage thinking, okay, they're in their regular base. They're in a simple defense. They're vanilla. They're in something that I can run this first play that I have called. And then you smack him in the face because he ran right into the teeth of your defense. The problem was the telegraph, and who knows what they did. And now you understand, too, why for 3 years I've been yelling and screaming at Kyler Murray all the time. You could not fool Kurt Warner and Carson Palmer very often. They saw what you were in and got their team into the right play. Play calling is not very often, I called the great play, you called the terrible play, my play crushes you. Does it happen? Yeah, it does. But not very often. What happens is you have a good quarterback that's worked very hard on his preparation, sees what the defense is doing pre-snap, reads the blitzing linebacker because he took a couple steps forward and showed what he's doing, reads the cornerback because his tendencies are whenever he is the nickel corner and it's 3rd and 3 and shorter, he's going to come on a blitz. You pick up on those things as a quarterback because you do extra work. And that's what Brock Purdy did. Brock Purdy nailed that. Whatever was going to happen. And then boom, it's a touchdown. And it made the Cardinals look pretty silly. So that's what I'm referring to when we talk about the illegal shifts. That's how I got onto this, is I was talking about illegal shifts and then explained how this is why sometimes everybody can move, like the Christian McCaffrey situation. But you've got to get set. And then once 11 guys are set, then one of them can go into motion. And it's actually, it's on all the players, but It's really on the quarterback. Jacoby Brissett, and I don't like to call him out, but I have to when he's wrong. You as a quarterback have to see, wait a minute. Everybody gets set. You have to see that your man went into motion while another guy wasn't set. But the guy that didn't get set, I would yell at him, what are we doing? We got a play clock here that's ticking down. We need to go into motion so the quarterback can read the defense. A lot of times you put a guy into motion just to see if they're in man or zone. And if you can see, okay, now I know that they're in man. Well, wait, I got a zone beater sitting here. Well, I need to check into a different play. So you need to get your guys lined up fast so you can get the motion started, so you can read the defense. You can change the play if you need to. And you got one guy screwing around, not getting himself set. And it's not really the job of the guy that goes into motion to check and make sure, is everybody settled? Hey guys, I'm getting ready to start running. You don't have that. But the quarterback usually moves his foot to send somebody into motion. He is responsible to make sure nobody's moved yet. So I liked a lot of what the coordinator said. There's one thing that was said, though, by Drew Petzing I did not like. I thought this was cheeseball. He was asked about Michael Wilson and asked, did you know that Michael Wilson had this in his game? Did you know he's a double-digit plus 100 receiver? Did you know that? What did you learn about him that maybe you didn't know?
I don't think we learned a lot. I think he got to put it on display, which is always fun to see. We talk about the next man up. I think he's always ready for that opportunity, practices extremely hard, plays extremely hard, whether the ball's going to him or not. So knew he was going to be ready for the moment when his number was called, and was really excited to see him go out and produce and perform like that, because he certainly has earned that in the way he works.
Okay. I can't stand for that. If you knew that he can do that, and he just needed the opportunity to put it on display, why haven't you given him the opportunity to put it on display? What are we doing? 2327. 7's nice. 1-3-3-4-3-0-0-4-6. Those are the receptions in his rookie year. 1 7-gamer for 76 yards. Last game of his rookie year, 6 receptions, 95 yards. Really good. Most of the time, bad. And for 4 games, just completely inactive. Last year, 1-2-8 for 64, 3-5-2-1-5, 0-3-2-5, 2-2-2-4. That's not that great. 2025, 1-1-1, 3-2-4-3-3-4, 15 for 185. If you knew he could do this, why has he never had 15 before? Name a receiver where 15 receptions for 185 yards is an average. When is that somebody's average? Yeah, we knew he could do that. And just given the opportunity. Well, give him the opportunity then. He had never had double-digit receptions in his career. He had never had 100 yards in his career. He had a couple bombs in game 3 of his career, and therefore was able to average, or they're able to get 86 yards on the day and only 2 catches. Last game of his rookie year, he had 95 yards. Never had he had over 100 yards. Year 2 of his career, the highest he had was 78 yards. And then there's this year. 1 for 5, 1 for 11, 1 for 5, 3 for 15, 2 for 16. Now we're going a little crazy. 4 for 44, 3 for 40, 3 for 61, 3 for 34. His season high was 61 yards receiving. Now he goes to 185. If you knew he could do this, why are you targeting Marvin Harrison Jr.? Why? I mean, that's full of crap. Oh, yeah, we knew he could do it. He was just given the opportunity to show it. Well, then that's on you. That makes you, like, I've been defending Drew Petzing forever. See, here's the thing. He's full of crap. That's the point. You didn't know Michael Wilson could do that. And then I have to ask the question, why did you not know that? I have to ask the question to Monty Austinfort and Michael Bidwill, why did you keep Kyler Murray on the field? If you've got a receiver that can do 15 receptions for 185 yards with a different quarterback than the one you've got, then why isn't he out? Then why haven't you made the switch? I mean, it's stuff like that. You might think I'm getting a little worked up, but it's stuff like that just quite frankly pisses me off. You are lying or you are blind when you say something like that. You're calling your fans stupid. Well, I'm just going to throw out an answer really quick. Yeah, we always knew that. That way I can make it sound like Michael Wilson's been great the whole time. I've always known he can do this. Well, if you've always known, give him the ball. I do get worked up over that. I just can't stand it when people, they think we're stupid. They think we're stupid. Oh, I'll just, yeah, we always knew he could do it. He's great. He's great. Come on. Combine that with Bobby Mack, that was a lot of Cardinals there. And coming up next, let me explain to you the ever-exciting Rule 5 draft on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass.
Here is Sue Rigler on starting 100 Mile Brewing Company.
What started 100 Mile Brewing Company is I actually have a degree in microbiology from ASU. Go Devils. And went back to school. I found out that UC San Diego had a brewing program, so I enrolled in that. And with the intention of opening a brewery, I came back to Tempe because it's Sun Devil country. I wanted to open a brewery in Tempe, which fresh it never gets old is our tagline. And I'm pretty much a stickler about fresh beer. It's got to be fresh. Otherwise, it's not going to be served here.
Hi, I'm Angie with Penny Royal Promotions. We decorate blank apparel, screen printing, embroidery, direct to film. Also, we provide promotional products, offset printing, tents, canopies, banners, business cards, anything you can put a logo on. Okay, Unplugged Army, if you own a business, you have an upcoming event, a charity function, golf tournament, we're the official provider of the Unplugged Army. Ask for Angie. I'm this year's Euchre champion.
Hoping to get the show up by 6 o'clock today. Getting closer. It's 5:19 right now, and I still have to edit Bobby Mack. Which means when you hear Bobby Mack, it's probably not going to be edited very well. I know that you've already heard it, but you know what I mean? It's not going to be edited very well. Because I am not failing today. I'm getting the podcast up by 6. I got 40 minutes to talk to you about Diamondbacks and do versus Vegas, and then edit Bobby Mack and get the show put up. I'm in a good mood. Hopefully you are too. Have a good day today. Dominate. You deserve it. So there's a Rule 4 draft and a Rule 5 draft. Rule 4 draft they're only called that because it's the rules of baseball organizations, the rules of Major League Baseball that's not on the field. In that charter that constitutes the rules for general managers and organizations, Rule 4 is the June draft. And then there's a different draft and there's not a name for it. So you just say, well, it's Rule 5 of the book, so it's the Rule 5 draft. You sign a player, you draft a player, or you sign a player from a different country. Players that are born in the United States, Puerto Rico, Canada, and Mexico, you draft them. You know what? I'm wrong about Mexico. It's U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico. So they get drafted. All other Latin American countries, you are automatically a free agent and you can sign when you're 16 years old. So let's say you were signed at 16 or 18 years old. Your team has 5 years to put you on the 40-man roster. You can't play on your parent league club until you're on the 26-man roster. Right? So you know that. You're not like the Diamondbacks players, every Diamondbacks player has to be on the 26-man roster. All 26 guys are on your 40-man roster. So it's not two separate things. It's more of a part of the 40-man roster. The other 14 spots on your 40-man roster have to be made up of players that you're keeping from every other team. And then players that have fewer than 5 years of time, if they're 18 or 16 when they signed, or 4 years if you got signed out of college. If you haven't promoted them to your 40-man roster within that time frame, you are exposed to the Rule 5 draft. And any team can take you in the Rule 5 draft. Here's what's weird about it. They want it to make sure that the expensive teams don't hog players and then make them sit in the minor leagues. Like, let's say the Yankees have a great outfielder and they don't want to call him up because they're not going to bench Aaron Judge or some of the other, guys that they have. So they just let him sit there in the minors forever. Well, baseball doesn't want that, and the Players Union doesn't want that. They want that guy called up. So anybody not on your 40-man roster that's been in, that signed as a 16 or 18-year-old that's been in your organization for 5 years or 4 years if you're a 21-year-old, they're eligible to be drafted and plucked right off your roster. There were a couple guys the Diamondbacks didn't want that to happen to, so they got promoted to the 40-man roster before the Rule 5 draft. In order to create space, the Diamondbacks designated for assignment, which is a fancy way of saying they cut Tommy Henry. And now he's exposed to waivers and he's a free agent. He can sign wherever he wants. He could actually re-sign with the Diamondbacks, but he can't be but now he doesn't have a spot on the 40-man roster. And if he makes the big league club out of spring training, well, then they would have to put him back on the 40-man roster in order to put him on the 26-man roster. Sometimes you say, I know I can make this team. I'm going to stay with you. And other times players are saying, hey, if you don't want me, I'm going to go find somebody that does. So that's what happened yesterday, Rule 5 draft. That's why Tommy Henry is gone. The other thing about the Diamondbacks you need to know about how qualifying offers work. Diamondbacks gave a qualifying offer to Zach Gallen, meaning if you want to stay, we're offering you a 1-year, $22 million contract. It's also kind of a warning sign to all other teams. We don't want you to sign our guy. And if another team signs Zach Gallen, now the Diamondbacks get draft compensation. What's weird is this is not a trade of draft picks. Don't think like the NBA or the NFL. It's not like a team will trade a pick for Zach Gallen. That's not how that works. It's two separate transactions. Number one, if you're a team that takes Zach Gallen, you give up a draft pick more like a penalty. You don't give your pick to another team. The pick just disappears. There's two categories. You've heard of revenue sharing. Well, there are some teams that pay into revenue sharing. There are some teams that get paid by revenue sharing. That actually determines what happens to you when you sign a free agent. If you sign a free agent away from a team that gave him a qualifying offer, so in this case, Zach Gallen. Let's say the Marlins are mad they ever traded Zach Gallen. They're going to sign him. Well, since the Marlins receive revenue from revenue sharing, the Marlins lose their third pick of the draft. Doesn't matter when that happens. It sounds like it would be third round, but that's not always the case because there's two competitive bonus rounds in which you get a extra draft pick. And then there's also, you can earn free picks based on if you have the rookie of the year that year, they're appreciative that you called up a player in enough time to win the award. So there's different incentives that can add picks to your total, such as this. If you offered somebody a qualifying offer and you get a draft pick, that counts. Whatever is the third pick for you, that's the one you lose. If you're on the flip side and you are someone that is paying into the revenue sharing, you lose even more than that. And the thought process there is you're already spending a ton of money that puts you in the category of being forced to give money to the revenue sharing pot. And now you're signing another free agent. It's like you're not getting the message. We don't want you spending that much money. So therefore, you're going to lose a second round pick, not your second pick, a second round pick. You're going to lose your fifth round pick. And you're going to take a hit on your international bonus pool. Okay, what's the international bonus pool? Remember when I said Latinos can sign at 16 years old? There's a pot of money every team gets. And it's not like the league gives you the money. It's a limit on your money. And it's a way to distribute Latino talent instead of having the Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers come in and the Cubs and buying up all of the talent and having enormous farm systems. It's no, you can only spend X amount of dollars a year on international players. And that way it makes it more fair for another team to come in and do something. Well, now, if you sign a free agent that received a qualifying offer, you don't get to spend as much as other teams. You lose money on your international bonus pool. Okay, so that's how it relates to who might sign Zach Gallen. Now, how does any of that affect the Diamondbacks? Depends on how much they give Zach Gallen. $50 million is the hard number, okay? Remember $50 million. If a team signs Zach Gallen to a contract that has less than $50 million of guarantees, then the Diamondbacks get a pick before the third round starts. So you'll have the first round, you'll have any qualifying offers from other teams that go, you'll have a competitive round A, you'll have round 2, you'll have a competitive balance round B. Now the third round starts. Boom, hey, we get a pick. Because we lost a guy we gave a qualifying offer to that received a contract less than $50 million. Remember I said, remember the $50 million. Zach Gallen gets a contract that's worth more than $50 million, and it will be. Then the Diamondbacks get a pick immediately following round 1. So they'll get their first round pick, and then they get that. A couple years ago, when Corbin Carroll won the won the Rookie of the Year, the Diamondbacks had 3 picks in, I'm going to ballpark this, in about the first 40. Pick number 1 of that day was their first round pick. Pick number 2 was the bonus pick they received for losing a free agent that they had offered a qualifying offer to. And then their third pick was the pick that I think they chose for Ryan Waldschmidt, who's their best prospect, because they promoted Corbin Carroll, didn't hide him, and he got a full year's worth of service time. They now get an extra pick. The catch there is teams like the Cubs with Chris Bryant, what they will do is they won't promote one of their best players early in the year. They'll wait until the end of May to call him up. That way it screws that guy. He doesn't get to his 6 years in the bigs in enough time, 6 years of full service time. Even though he'll play 6 seasons in Major League Baseball, he'll have 5.5 years of service time when you do that. You've got to have a full 6 years in order to get to free agency. So now they've screwed you out of free agency, and you've got to spend 7 seasons before you become a free agent. It's really screwy. It's unfair. Like, I'm usually pro owner when it comes to labor debates. That is one thing that I am so pro player, and I think it's something the players should fight for like crazy. And one of the ways they tried to get to curb that is encourage teams to call people up. So if your player wins Rookie of the Year and he earned a year of service time, you get an extra draft pick. That's everything to do with the draft that I thought you should hear about. Before I do versus Vegas, I just had to play this for you. I think this is hysterical. Kentucky lost last night. Michigan State just ran them over, 83-66. Kentucky's supposed to be the 12th best team in the country. They're supposed to be better than that. So they've now lost to Louisville and they've lost to Michigan State and looked bad in both games. So Mark Pope, the head coach, was asked a question about kind of where things stand right now.
We're far away from the team that we hope to aspire to be, and we can't waste a second on trying to grow into that. We're disappointed and discouraged and completely discombobulated right now, and so we just have work to do, and so there's no time like the present.
I can't tell you how much I love that. They've played 5 games.
We're disappointed and discouraged and completely discombobulated right now.
We're disappointed, discouraged, and completely discombobulated in November. It's not even Thanksgiving. Remember, it used to be you played a game or two, and then you went to one of the Thanksgiving tournaments. And you've played 5 games. You've only played 2 or 3 games, and then you played 3 games in 3 days. And now you come back home, and you have maybe 1 or 2 marquee games coming up, and then the conference season starts after New Year's. Now these guys have already played a couple games. They've already played 2 marquee events. And it's like, the season's over. We're discombobulated. And listen, I'm the type of guy that loves that. Say it like it is. Call your dudes out. Big fan. It's time for... Went 2-0 yesterday. And then went 0-2. My Bobcats shot me right in the foot. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Guru Brad always says, don't bet unders. It's a finite number. You never know. Oh, well. Here's what happened to me last night. Well, first of all, the games I got right. I took Winnipeg, thinking the Blue Jackets on the back end of the back-to-back, flying across the border, not going to be good. Took Winnipeg, cover the goal and a half on the goal line. Winnipeg smashed them 5-2. We did well there. Took San Jose on the money line against Utah, and I hate to say it, got a little lucky. San Jose won in overtime, 3-2. So we're 2-0 going into Atlanta taking on the Pistons. We'd had Atlanta on the money line. Atlanta didn't cover because they didn't win, even though there was nothing to cover on the money line. Pistons won by 8. We lose. And then I took Bobcats and UMass to go under the 51.5. Under. Game starts with UMass getting a touchdown on the first drive. Ohio gets a touchdown on the first drive. UMass gets a touchdown on the second drive. It's 14-7, middle of the first quarter. I'm thinking I'm a dead duck. UMass never scores again. Bobcats pick up 3 more touchdowns, and it's 35-14. We're okay. 35-14. We're under the total of 51.5. We've got this. Instead of running out the clock, Ohio scores 1 more touchdown at the 2-minute warning, and it goes over the total. It's 42-14. My Bobcats. So we only go 2-2 on the day, and we lose about $1 or $2 because of the negative juice. Wasn't terrible, but we had 2 money lines. So here we go for today to kind of bounce back a little bit. Going to take Buffalo on the money line against Calgary, as Calgary is on the back end of a back-to-back. Going to take the Miami Heat minus the 6.5 as Golden State is flying down from Orlando, and I love the home team on a back-to-back when the road team traveled. Got the Bulls minus 2.5 against Portland. They were sitting in Portland while the Blazers played the Suns. And even though the Blazers got a little rest because of the fourth quarter blowout, I still like the Bulls minus the 2.5. Tonight, we'll take Central Michigan minus the 8.5. That's a big number. But they're going up against Kent Reed, Kent Wright, Kent State. So I believe in Central Michigan. We'll take Central in that one. And then U of A fans, I'm going to trust you. I don't know who's going to win the UConn game, But I think 5.5 is way too big of a spread. So we're going to take the Wildcats plus the 5.5. As an ASU fan, I consider that going for blood money, having to root for you. So I admit to you, I'm hoping UConn wins by 3 points. That way I win and you lose. That's so rude. But what do I think is going to happen? I think U of A is going to win. I really do. I mean, what I saw when they played Florida, they're fantastic. They're fantastic. And then to think they're good, they just beat UCLA. I think it's the travel. I think the idea of traveling to LA to play a game, then come home for a day or two, and then turn around and fly all the way across the country. I think they're thinking that's a bit much, and therefore they're against U of A. I think U of A should have scheduled this game at Madison Square Garden. I think that would have been a smart move by them, because you get the points of a new. Now you get more points if you win on the road in the ratings. Or excuse me, you get more points when you win on the road. I think I said that. I'm starting to get tired. So it's better to win in stores. But at the same time, you could have had that game at the quote-unquote neutral site, even though it would have been a pro-UConn crowd. And you get the benefit of Madison Square Garden. And then you could have had the return game in Phoenix. That would have been awesome. That would have been awesome to see U of A and UConn right here instead of going down to Tucson for it. But I like U of A in this game. I'm taking the points, though. I'm not going to stick my neck out and be crazy. Sound credits today. Number one, I got the Jordan Ott and the Goodwin straight from the 3TV Arizona's Family broadcast. So free plug for Mark McClune and Julia and Elliot and King Kelly for all that they do on, let me see if I get it right, on CBS 5-3 TV Arizona's Family. Oh, that was pretty smooth, Mark. That was pretty smooth right there. I sounded good. And I used YouTube and got the the Drew Petzing and the Nick Rawlis from the Cardinals YouTube page. I got the Brian Ward from Sun Devil Source that I used in the 4-minute offense. And then Mark Pope off of YouTube, I got that from the Kentucky Sports Radio YouTube page. That does it for today's version of Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass, home of Whirlwind Plus. You can sign up right at whirlwindgolf.com, $299 for a year. It's only, I think, $34 per month if you want to do it monthly. You can cancel any time, but then it's a 90 days notice once you do cancel, just so you know. I think it is. It might be 60. Check the conditions. But I would just go for the $299 deal, because then you take the lowest time or the lowest price for any tee time that you choose. So if the lowest price is the 2 o'clock tee time, you can sign up and say, I want to golf at 9 o'clock and I want to pay the 2 o'clock rate. You get to do that if you're a Whirlwind Plus member. That's fantastic. It's a great deal. Plus 15% off the Civlik and the Pro Shop. And then even better, you get prizes all the time. And this month, anybody who's a Whirlwind Plus member is registered to win a $500 gift card to the Whirlwind online store. Player. Bell's Nashville Kitchen is the original sponsor of Doug Franz Unplugged, home of the Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich, the best sandwich in the history of the state of Arizona. Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. Black Friday sales going on all month long. $5,000 off a Bronco. See Santan for details, or just email me, Doug at DougFranzUnplugged.com. Parker & Sons, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Call 6022-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons. Always on time, and you never have to pay an emergency charge. Remember that, as other people will rake you over the coals. Burrito Express, home of the greatest breakfast burrito you've ever had. 100 Mile Brewing Company, home of A Mountain Amber Ale, the best beer in the state. And our newest sponsor, Penny Royal Promotions. Just slap, you want to put a logo on anything, slap it on there. They'll take care of it and make it look professional. That is Penny Royal Promotions. You want me to connect you with Angie, just email me, Doug at DougFranzUnplugged.com. Al, I thought it was a good show today, even though I just went up in flames there in failure at the end.
Doug, thank you so much. My best to your listeners, and keep up the work on Doug French Unplugged.